Hi, I'm going to talk today about how I came about writing the book Isolation and Depression. It was about a 2-year process. I mean, probably a lot longer than that, actually. I wrote it at the end of a 2-year experiment. Depression, for a lot of people, is very debilitating. In my life, I discovered writing only really, really late, and I spent most of my life accomplishing very little. I spent years in bed, not being able to get up. People, my family, were taking care of me. Every time that I did manage to get up, start life all over again, I would wind up back in bed, and everything I had worked for and worked towards was pretty much destroyed. And this was really hard and probably very familiar for a lot of us who suffer from depression, especially cyclical depression, depressions that come back. It's pretty devastating and pretty difficult. It's not really a great way to live one's life. There's a lot of helplessness involved in it. People who have gone to therapists, who doctors, and on medication, sometimes that really helps. Sometimes it helps a little bit, sometimes it helps for a little while and doesn't work anymore. So for all of us suffering from depression, some of us dealing with an experience of such numbness that we are not connected to any joy or any happiness, any fulfillment in life. For some of us, it's really difficult to even care for ourselves enough to keep going. It takes a lot to keep going, actually. And I'm very grateful to my children because for some reason they keep me going. And they have kept me going. I took the route of psychotherapy, and I did a ton of psychotherapy, and then later on I did a ton of spiritual psychotherapy. And this taught me a lot, gave me a lot of tools and a lot of skills. Didn't really help with the depression, though. The depression came back and it was just as devastating as before. However, in the last 2 years or 3 years, when I entered into my last depression, I actually started an experiment. I took the elements of depression and I started to separate out what felt normal, quote unquote normal, with what felt negative and debilitating. Normal to me was just being tired and not having a lot of energy, because that's been something that I've struggled with my whole life. Even when I wasn't feeling particularly depressed, I didn't seem to have the energy that other people had. Higher sensitivity, and that was usually when I would go through periods of depression. I would experience higher sensitivity and irritability to noise, to brightness, to societal expectations, big one. People, too many people, going outside, crowds. I still have a really hard time with crowds. Thank you, COVID. So, the sensitivity seemed kind of normal, seemed like part of maybe who I was. And when I separated all the negative stuff, like, I shouldn't be feeling this way, look at that guy over there and look how much he's accomplished in his life, we had the same opportunities, what's the matter with me? The negative self-talk, even in the tiny little bits, like I should get up, I should go do this, I should go do that, I should take care of myself. The negative self-talk is a big one. Expectations, putting my expectations on myself that aren't realistic given just who I am and how I'm showing up in the world and how I've been showing up in the world for years. And this is just natural, that I don't have the energy that other people have, and I have periods of higher sensitivity. A lot of us actually experience this. The negative self-talk, the self-loathing, the self-castigation, a lot of that is maybe what depression actually is. So this is what I experimented with. I separated out that. I gave myself full permission to be who I was as much as I could, right? There's certain things we absolutely have to do. I don't want to lose my home. I had my children to take care of. They had to get fed. And this was right after a separation from my husband. So yeah, there were things I absolutely had to do. But anything else, anything extra, I allowed myself not to do it. The first year, I gave myself a lot of permission. The second year, I started to dial that back a little bit just in terms of feeling my feelings. Because giving too much permission, especially for people suffering from depression, I believe, can lead to addictive behaviors. Overeating, drug and alcohol abuse, a lot of shopping. Shopping. A lot of things like that. Feeling my feelings in small, manageable amounts every day was a way to counteract the giving myself permission. Giving myself permission was still very, very important. Feeling my feelings helped balance it out so that I wasn't sliding into addiction. The fourth experiment that I did was finding support. And finding support isn't about going out and looking for people. Finding support to me was redefining support so that things like my bed, when I lay down, was an actual support. When I started to see my environment and see actual things that I could take for granted around me as supports, it changed my perspective and it changed my experience of what I was going through. All of this led to the separation of the negative aspects of depression, brought me down to the essence of what I call the Ebb-Type Personality. And as we know, ebb and flow, there's, most people experience ebbs and flows throughout the day, ups and downs, high energy, lower energy. Ebb-type personalities go through long periods, weeks, months, years, of very little energy and very high sensitivity. And making that normal, making that natural, was a way for me to bring back connection and joy into my life. Bring back even a sense of fulfillment. Bring back a little bit more energy, not a lot, but a little bit. This is what I wanted to share with you. The genesis of the book, Isolation and Depression, which is, the subtitle is actually the real title, which is The Little Black Book of Depression. And the subtitle, the reason for that is because it's a small book. It's a manageable book. I speak about all the things I just spoke about in the book. I give steps and tools to help us being people who have suffered depression their whole lives, or even situational depression right now with everything that's going on, a way to manage and a way to reframe that experience. I did it for myself, and it really did transform my life. I really, really want that for you too.